All right, so today is the day. We are going to be tearing down the 8V71 in this 4106. This is Miss Budwiser, one of Lance's buses out of his fleet. So if you guys saw the last couple of videos, this thing has low compression. Runs decent still, but it's actually blowing a ton of oil out of the airbox drains. So we're going to go ahead and get this engine torn down so we can get our parts ordered for it and see what we find inside of it. So I got the 4 injectors out of this bank. Had an issue with one of the bags I went to go grab. I put the fuel line in and it hit the ground. And I was like, must have missed. Went and did it again. Same thing. There's a hole in the bottom of that bag. So got to get the Sharpie out real quick and tag these 4. But that should be good for that. You don't want the injectors left in there because they protrude through the head. So when we take the head off and sit it down, we don't want to mess up an injector tip. But now that we have those out of there, I can go ahead and get the rack out, but I get to top the governor off to get the control rod out. So we'll probably get the governor stripped down. We'll get the blower hat off and see about maybe getting the blower off. I might wait on the blower for a little bit here, but we'll see about getting everything off around it at least. So we're going to get the lid off the governor housing here so we can get the rod to the rack out of it, and we'll get the rack off. Probably move over to get the stuff off the top of the blower next, but just difficult to get a couple of these bolts out of there. The ones with well, that one's loose. I ain't even touched that yet. We might be rethreading a bolt there. We'll have to see. So there's the governor. The whole reason we needed to take that off is to be able to get in here, take out this pin right here, which hooks this rod up, and then that one's gonna have to come off there because that goes to the other cylinder head. Get all the bolts out of the intake here. Everything that we take off is getting bagged, tagged from where it comes from. And it makes your life a lot easier when you go to put them back together. As far as major engine components and everything that comes with the base motor, you pretty much do without a problem. But when you start getting into stuff like where all these fuel lines run, any aftermarket wiring and stuff like that, little piece of tape, tag, mark where it came from, where it goes, and you're going to thank yourself on reassembly. Well, that gives us quite a bit more room to work in here. Get the gasket off the blower here. I'm going to replace this anyway. Blower looks good. We'll have to get all this cleaned up, but that's not going to be a big issue. When I said this thing was spraying oil everywhere in the engine bay, the fan kicks it around, but that's how you end up with that. So everything just circulates back here, and when you get a good size oil leak on one of these, it ends up everywhere. Get the back valve cover off, and then we can get the other set of injectors out of it. Once they're all out, it means I can get both the racks out and the rods to the governor and stuff. I'm trying to get prepared here where we get the blower out soon. Not 100% necessary, but I'm going to go ahead and reseal everything because we're having it apart, and it's going to make getting this head out a lot easier to be missing the height of the blower, because you can pretty much just barely lift it up and come straight back once you do that. Actually, I'm not even 100% sure if you can get those off without taking the blower. I've never tried. I assume if you try hard enough, you could probably get it to fit out of there, but Back banks are always kind of tight on these. Remember when I said it is possible to get to those without taking rear engine access out? It is. It's just not fun. More stuff has to come off. I'm pretty sure you can slide it out the end, but might as well just take them out if you can. So we'll work on getting that bank apart here in a minute, but I'm gonna go ahead and get the rods out of it. Okay, so if we lift this rod, there we go. This one will come out, which it's going to take a little bit of fishing to get them out of there. But there's one. The other one, there's a little screw right here that you have to remove to get it. And you want to be careful when you're in here, because you do not want to lose parts, drop parts, break anything in the governor. You got to be careful. It takes next to nothing going wrong in here to have big problems. So every time we're done working on it, we put the cover back on, put a bolt back in it so nothing falls in here. I'm going to go ahead and put the camera down though, because I need to get this screw lifted up out of there to get this other rod out. But the same thing, once you unhook it, you just kind of fish it out of there and you're ready to go. All right, so that's that threaded pin. Take that rod out, sit it over there till I can go back and bag and tag it. And we're going to very carefully put that screw pin thing back where it goes. It's right there. I'm going to thread it in a few threads just to make sure that it doesn't hit the ground. We're good. Make sure it doesn't fall around in there though. You don't want anything loose inside the governor housing. So that's good. Now that we're done inside of there, we'll take the cover plate, get it put back on, just like that. There's a locating pin right there and here. So we'll just take this bolt, snug it back up real quick. And now we don't have to worry about stuff ending up in the governor. We got a visitor. All right, so Lance has already hopped in out there and he's working on getting fuel lines and filter housings off. While he's doing that, we're gonna work on getting all the injectors out of this bank. I've already got my bags laid out so I can tag everything. Went ahead and pulled the rack off of this side, not a big deal. Just gives us a little more access. Coolant is currently draining out of it. I think once we get the coolant down though, we should only be a few minutes away from getting that first cylinder head off.
I'll go ahead and take these fuel filters off.
Yep. If you need anything, my toolbox is open over there.
Do you have a tool to take them off?
Oh, you're taking the filters themselves. There's a pair of filter pliers on the left side of my toolbox. I do not have like a strap wrench in there.
It's okay, I don't think they shouldn't be too bad. fuel cap right here for diesel?
Dude, give me just a second. I'll get it for you. There we go. Whole cylinder injectors apart and tagged. I just got 3 more to go back. Back bank is all disassembled and ready to go. It's still out there working on the other side, so we'll go see what he's up to. So I'm working on getting all these exhaust bolts loose so the manifold will come off the head. Probably gonna leave it hooked to the exhaust. I might crawl under there and disconnect it and pull it. We'll have to see in a sec here, but no matter what, as long as we get it loosened up a little bit, it should slide off, or the head should slide off it. Lance is working over there on getting coolant and fuel lines out. Coolant's currently draining as soon as it's down. This bottom head's pretty much ready to pull. Once we get the bottom head off, then we'll work on getting the blower off and then move up to the top head. So, been working away here on the back side. Lance has got pretty much everything important stripped off the head. So now we're just waiting on that little bit of coolant to finish draining, and then this cylinder head's coming off. You excited to see inside?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's funny, working on jets for 20 years, working in super tight spaces. This is like working inside of a mall. It's pretty easy to get at stuff. I know there's some tough stuff up there for you on the top. Luckily, they have that access hole there.
Yeah.
I wish,
and luckily, when you had the work done inside, you had the forethought to leave it accessible, and easily accessible at that.
Yeah. Jimmy did a good job making that like that. It's pretty interesting. I don't know if I've talked about this very much, but an F-16 on a radial engine has what's called an ADG, which is an accessory gear drive. Accessory drive gear, ADG. And off of that, for an F-16, run all of the other systems that power the F-16. So you have a several 100 kilowatt generator, much like we have an alternator that's geared on the end of this. You had a power takeoff shaft that was a two-way power takeoff shaft. It applied energy from a jet fuel starter to the engine to get it spun up and then add the fire. And then the energy transferred from the startup through that power takeoff shaft. Once you cut off the JFS, the jet fuel starter, then the energy transferred from the radial engine, we'll talk about it like this 8V, back forward through, and that would help generate the power. You would run different accessories, and this, one of the things I was struck by when I got this 4106, I didn't know it till I started to learn about it, was we basically have a giant ADG box right here. We have all these things, everything. One of the things that people are amazed about with a 4106 is there's nothing moving. You've got a fan down here that's on the other side of the
No
exhaust.
belts or anything though.
There's nothing that moves. This end right here that might have had pulleys if it was set not transversely spins.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's very clean. And I know we've had that oil leak and it's made it dirty, but it's very tight, it's very concise, a lot like a jet engine. A lot like the F-16 is, so it's been pretty fun.
Perfect bus to work your way from working on airplanes into working on buses.
Yep. You know, the hoses on an F-16 wouldn't be strewn all like this. They'd be tucked right up tight against the radial body and up against the nacelle. But I often tell people that. I'm like, you know, it's a lot like it's an F-16 with wheels. I know it's not a radial engine, but just amazing how General Motors decide to run all of these different things, from the compressor here to the power steering pump to the alternator. There's another, we took it off. What was here? There was a pump here that we took off. It was a transmission pump in the day, and that basically just ran fluid through the box, the 4-speed. And that's internal now, of course, on the V730 that's in here.
How are you loving the V730 since you did the swap to the automatic?
Do
you miss your manual at all, or?
It's funny, you get in there, because I still have one bus, Ironman, that's a 4-speed. You get in there and you try to hit the clutch and it's not there. It's kind of silly for a second. They're like, what'd you just do? Nothing. And this bus, this this V730, and it's a shame. I know there's a bunch of you out there looking for V730s, and where this was, he had 3 or 4 others, and I remember talking with Tyler and Scott, and we were like, should we go get them? And the guy said, basically, bring a truck, I'm going to give you everything for like $500, and we were pressed with time like we always are. And I went by there this spring, it's all gone. Chattanooga Choo Choo, everything's gone. And those things are probably in a dump somewhere. But anyway, this V730, it runs great. It's got a lockout, so it's a 3-speed with a lockout, and so it kind of feels like it has 4 gears. And this sucker will cruise. And for as bad as we've learned, as you're learning in this video, that this motor is, with all the variations across the cylinder head, and Tyler said to me, it's amazing that it runs as strong as it does, but it really feels, they called this the Corvette of buses when it was made. It really feels strong. So I'm cruising on the highway at 72 with this at 1900.
When I drove it around here, other than it smoking a little bit from the oil pooling up, and obviously it's leaking oil.
Yep.
Just by hopping in it and driving it, I wouldn't be able to tell you that this engine had serious issues to it.
Yeah, none of this.
I was amazed when I saw the compression test numbers.
Yeah.
It drives great still.
Yeah. Well, and everything else, this is the last piece that we haven't done. There's nothing on this bus that isn't new. Steering, brakes, lines. We were told that this had been rebuilt.
It definitely has been a part. Somebody's been in there, because there's bolts that aren't factory.
Okay.
It's got newer injector hold down bolts. I don't know why they would replace those. Some newer hardware on the rack and stuff. Stuff that just you don't usually see get replaced.
And don't we have a hole at 380 or something real high? 340?
390.
Yeah, that's almost new.
Yeah,
right?
That's pretty much is new.
So we look at that, we may see a newer sleeve, and I'm sure you know how to read date codes and things on it.
Yeah.
I don't, but we may find that. Custom Coach did go through, anyone who's watched videos on this bus before, this radiator does not swing out. All other 4106s, you open the side door, and this swings out for maintenance. This one does not. It fills the entire compartment. And over the years, I've had this coach 8 or 9 years now, there's a specialty weld on the top here. It normally would have come out the top, and this one kind of comes out the side of the top cap. And over the years, it's leaked, and it cracks and breaks, and one place, screw me once, screw me twice. I went back 3 times, and on 3rd time it still broke. So this last 4th time I found somebody else to do it. And it's held for a couple of years now.
It's a giant radiator.
Yeah, and it's a non-pressurized system. We only run 2 or 3 pounds when this thing is at temperature. So it's at the very top. It's pumping through and dropping down. So it really only would leak when you're idling, just kind of vibrating and sitting down. But it's going to be exciting to get this apart. Looks like our coolant's out, so it's about time for us to knock off these 10 head bolts and drop it on my foot or something funny like that. That'll be a great Hey Lance out hospital moment. So I hope that's a joke.
We'll get a camera set up just in case.
And beautiful day here in Tennessee. It's May 7th, and we've got about, 55, 60 degrees, sunny.
Oh, it's great out here.
Normally storms at this place I see, so I'm kind of happy to.
We had a good storm last night. You missed it.
We had a hell of a storm in Franklin too. This is badass. I really like seeing. I did not know that these were spring loaded. How you can look at the rollers here, and the fact that they're spring loaded. That's pretty damn cool.
Yeah, there's a stack of flat springs that they sit against to kind of absorb shock and stuff like that, keep them moving smoothly.
Tyler's explained to me we don't need to take the blower off, but we are going to, because we've got some. Last year I had a leak. The way the fuel pump sits on the end of this, there's a kind of a 3-way or a 2-way back here of the way that the fuel line split up, and it's just damn near it. I spent a lot of time on it last year. And of course, I'm not educated like Scott and Tyler and the Bus Grease Monkey clan. It took me several days to finally get it tight. But gosh dang it, you just pull this up and out, and you can just fabricate.
That's gonna make our life so much easier.
That's how it was meant to be.
Plus, I want to reseal everything. While we got it apart, we're gonna go through all of it, because I do not want to fix an oil leak on this thing 2 weeks after we get it back together.
Yep. And we're gonna get at this. We got this one line has eluded us right here. This is
the only line we haven't touched.
It's the only line we haven't touched.
You got to drop a cradle support to get that out of there.
Yep. It goes up through this. This is the overflow tank, and the overflow tank is about 6 inches tall, so it's got a drop. But look what it's connected to. It's not cut out and around it. It's connected to this support. So when these buses were made, a little history lesson on here. When Greyhound went to GM and had this bus designed, they wanted this engine to be changed in 45 minutes. I believe there are 18 connectors is the number. There's 18 things you can disconnect. and 2 people with a proper 8V transverse 71 cradle can drop it and roll it out in 45 minutes. And it was pretty common. If they had problems with one of these, they come to the depot on a 3-hour change and switch it.
Yeah, you just get the bus right back in service, and then you'll have your guy go back through and refresh this engine on its cradle, and it goes in the next bus.
So just for the historical piece of it, the fact that we're going to run this bus, we probably will have Corey at Iconic Metalworks. If you guys, we've talked with him a couple times, he's done, we'll probably, the manual for this bus, the maintenance manual does have the exact specs for the cradle. And we can have Corey make it for us.
It'd be nice to have one.
Jay up in Ohio is going to be selling. Tyler and I are going to be purchasing an 8V71 cradle for inline, and hell, 3 of my buses have that, so it'll just be good to have. Maybe Tyler didn't know. He's kind of quiet there for a second.
4 of your buses. You forgot about one.
Oh yeah, 4. Will that lift a Series 62?
Maybe, possibly.
Could have been 5. It was really unique how a lot of this, I mean, what we're doing here is, it's fun and we're getting it done, but it's not how it was meant to be. These weren't meant to be worked in here at all. It was dropped, rolled out, and went into a room on a dyno, or, you know, where it was ready. When they put it back together, they put it on a dyno and out it went. In fact, my understanding is, I was told this, it used to be Clark Power. I think your dad had a horrible experience with Clark Power when he first became a bus owner.
I think that's what started Bus Grease Monkey.
Yep.
It's Clark Power service.
Clark Power in Nashville, I understand, and I met a man who told me he did this. I understand that every single 4106 that was delivered to Greyhound, the motor was taken out and sent to Clark Power, whatever the name was before that, in Nashville, the Smyrna Laverne area, and then they were what we would call super tuned or dyno. They had something they wanted done to it. And if you go on the old forums, some of the other forums, and get to the old guys that used to drive these used to have a handbrake. So that, you know, now all of us have gone through and they have spring brakes, but if you lost your air on this, you had a handbrake, was basically a differential brake. It's still on here if you want to. No, it's not. Did we take it off when we put in we might have cut it off.
I don't think yours has it anymore.
It might halfway be there. The upper clamp might be there. But you had a handbrake, and the handbrake had a sensor on it that told the light on the dash that your handbrake was on, and it was the parking brake as well. And so the old timers, and there's probably a few watching this video, I'd love you to chime in, would say that there was something you could do with a 4106 at a certain gear. You could pull the handbrake back 2 gears, and it would do something to the motor that allowed it to run faster, and they were able to get like 90 miles an hour out of it or something like that. Now, I don't know what that would be. You know, you can definitely chime into what that would be, but there was an electromechanical switch of some sort that allowed a little more. And I wonder if that was part of the tuning that they did in Nashville, like an Easter egg that they put in there. If anyone in here knows what that is, it'd be cool for you to put that in the comments. But I've saw 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 quotes about that over the years of people loving on 4106s and what they called the second notch. Of course, this doesn't have it anymore. It's air throttle, and this V730, well, the V730 runs great. And now we're going to have she's going to have a new power plant, transplant.
It's going to be running great when we're done.
Ready? It's not going to fall down, is it? It can a little bit, yeah. Here we go. Ready? Yep. Just trying to pivot. Yep. Can I help you guys here? It does not weigh 300 pounds. Just letting you know. It does too. There's no way I could have lifted that.
Well, you weren't doing it by yourself. What are you seeing? Can you feel any of them?
Feels kind of glazed, but then it goes to flashlight.
Totally rounded off.
And since we're gonna get that line off now, want some vice grips?
Got it.
Oh, there you go. See, just gotta fight it a little bit. What do you mean, what the hell is that?
I'm trying to figure out what could have caused that.
The Russian spy.
What do you got?
See that?
Yeah, that's not just dirt.
No, no.
Well, that's our problem, our worst problem child.
Yeah.
That's coming out though, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So you got, what do you got? You can feel the wear. Not only can you see
You
it,
can see it. Yeah, you can feel it.
yeah, it's just squashed and pushed out. Something get in there? That's the metal surface.
On the bottom.
It almost looks like epoxy.
It looks like dirt that'll just wipe out of there, but it doesn't.
No, it's like the ring. There's probably gonna be a problem with the ring when we get to it. Looks like the ring somehow caught in it or something, gouged it.
Maybe just broken on the other side and it's just free riding on that.
This side's got some weird crap too.
We're gonna have to clean it pretty thoroughly to inspect for cracks, but I don't see any hay lances right away.
Definitely has some marks on his rollers.
They're not the smoothest thing in the world. How's the cam look?
Okay.
So I just started wiping this off. I thought this was a white pattern right here, like somebody just moved some dirt across it, but yeah, it drags a nail.
It's all the way across. It's in this one too.
Yeah. Hey Lance, you might want to send this to the machine shop. That's there's no excuse for that. That can't have happened properly in any way with this head on the engine. That happened before this head went on.
Yeah, there's another one right here.
Which means somebody did not care about their job. They threw this engine together with zero concern for it. That makes me mad. You don't do that. If there's a problem, you take care of it before you put it back together. That is unacceptable in every single way. Because you can even see right here is where the fire ring sits. So it's very possible we were losing compression around the edge of the fire ring right there, which come up here and look at the fire ring.
Look at all this carbon built up right here.
Yeah, hang on. Let me get this. So here's your fire ring. You can see the matching imprint in the fire ring. That's what seals the compression. What? So I've got it cleaned off here, and there's more weird gouging here. It's really bad right there, really bad there. This one has witness marks right here in the fire ring for it. You can see where carbon has gone in the trails. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Where it's been compressed. I don't know what somebody prepped or cleaned this head with. A freaking cinder block?
A grinder.
Yeah, you don't use a flap disc to surface a head. Oh.
And what's that process called that I'll need done?
It's gonna have to go out and get machined. They're gonna have to redeck this and hope that it's within spec, but I guess it'll be worth it to have them go through the heads. But that is zero pride in your work. I can't believe that.
Right?
That's silicone on the edge of the liner. Just keep going. I'll push it back when it comes up a little bit, but it's in the carbon ridge. It's got a lot of carbon in the end of that liner too. Have you seen this one already?
No.
This one's all the way down.
Okay, so look at the.
Got my light?
That'll give it back. Here it is.
Yeah.
That looks nasty.
It does, but compared to the others, it's not as bad. If I remember right, that was the best compression on this bank.
Where is
That one's... It's got a nice lip on the end of it for sure. But it's not terrible. I mean, it's bad, but it's... I don't see any broke ones yet.
That one actually looks the best out of so far of what I've seen.
That was pretty low. That was still a sub 300 PSI cylinder.
Well, it's got scoring in it, and there's... I don't know what that's all about.
Is that the ridge where the rings are stopping in it? Ah, you know what? If it pushes it out, it pushes it out.
This one looks the worst. Is this the lowest one?
Was the
Yeah, that was 270 psi.
bottom rack closest to the heat was your first words. when
Is
you
that a
called me.
look at that score that goes all the way around it? Can you feel that?
Yeah.
That's on if we find a broken ring in there.
There's gonna be something wrong with the ring.
fracture and just laying down? Gravity's just dragging it across the bottom.
Just gonna pick up a little more horsepower.
Well, I think we're going to end video 1 here and keep an eye out for the next one. We'll get the blower off and get the other bank apart and see what other stuff we find, because we still have one outlying cylinder on the top side that we need to see why it's down on compression as well.